Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video is a Black Library review. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at one of the many publications brought out by a Black Library and giving you our thoughts on the book, audio drama, whatever it happens to be. Now, I will say that we will try to keep this review to as spoiler free as possible, though there will obviously be points where we talk about things happening in the book. We will try to keep away from saying any of the major plot points, so you can go and read this book for yourself. We'll just give you our thoughts on whether or not we think it is something you may be interested in. So we'll use this video to instruct you on maybe is this sort of going to be a book that you would like to see. With that all said and out the way, let's get cracking on. Let's talk a little bit about the book that we have reviewed this time. In today's video, we're going to take a look at Kragnos, Avatar of Destruction by David Guymer, and this is also narrated by Andrew James Spooner, and I must say, really well narrated. I enjoyed the narration of this audiobook really quite a lot. Andrew James Spooner, you did a fantastic job at bringing David Guymer's words to life. I think it's important. I listen to most of my Black Library stuff and most of my books now in Audible or in some form of ebook, maybe sometimes on the Black Library audio app as well, or on, iBooks and stuff like that. I generally do prefer to listen to an audiobook while I'm sort of doing painting, building models, or getting other stuff ready for YouTube content, doing editing and all of that. But this was a good book. Kragnos, Avatar of Destruction. I've been wanting to listen to this for a while. And yeah, it did not disappoint. But let's get cracking on into it and check out the review proper for this. Well done to Andrew James Spooner on a good narration of an audio drama. And so, setting the scene for the book. This book sets us at the time just before the Great Battle for Excelsis has begun. And actually just before Kragnos' awakening from underneath the Twin Peak, the mountain in which he was entombed by Lord Croak. Now, this is what's really cool. It's going to give us sort of that prequel sort of setting to what actually happens in Broken Realms. This is set after a lot of the books in there. Be'lakor and his Broken Skies have happened. We've had the defeat of Nagash by Teclis, and of course Morathi's turned on Sigmar, and we've had all of that stuff in Harkuron happen at this point. And this book just sets us just before Kragnos' awakening, after Alariel has sort of taken ascendancy with all her giant life magic springing out everywhere. And this was really cool. It gives us like the story of what is happening in those heartlands with Kragnos. And so we join our main characters as they're about to launch an assault upon an ogre gluthold that they're hoping to turn into a brand new settlement in Gur. Now, like many things in Gur, these settlements haven't been going particularly well, and if you've read other publications, I recommend checking out things like Dominion, where things don't go well on these settlements in general, but this one, it's a new one that strikes out, and they're trying to make this settlement atop this old ruins of this ogre gluthold, and they're eventually launching their assault, and that's where we get the scene set for our story from our main characters. But what is this book's purpose? So I think we've got three main things that this book really tries to show us throughout the story that it tells. First of all, it tries to show us how hard it is to try and build a city in Gur. Gur itself is this realm that tries to eat itself, essentially. Everything in Gur is carnivorous. Everything is monstrous, whether it's the fauna, whether it's the very ground you sit on, or just your own sort of attitude towards everything. Gur will make monsters of us all is a constant theme of the book, and this book definitely tries to show that sort of theme act out in so many different ways across many different types of creature, humans and other destruction creatures and other things as well. It also, as many of these newer books are showing, it tries to show the strains upon relations between Azorites and Reclaimed. Azorites are those humans and mortals that came from Sigmar's realm of Azorheim in High Azir, and now are trying to colonize the realms again. And the Reclaimed are those that survived in the realms, whether this be, in this case, the Gurish natives, the humans that grew up in Gur, who are quite savage, or indeed, in other publications we see Reclaimed be, people from the realm of death, the realm of fire, the realm of light, etc. it's obviously this, both people believe in Sigmar as a god, but both have very different feelings about what that god is and who he wants them to be themselves. And so we get like Azerites believe in Sigmar as this noble sort of god king, where in this time the Gurish people still remember him as sort of Sigmar the warrior god, much more than the god king that he currently is. So they see him in very different lights, and this of course leads to lots of confrontation of both just normal people just on ideology and on faith as well. Of course, a major plot point to this entire story and the book purpose of it is Kragnos' awakening, and how his awakening affects the various factions of destruction, whether that be ogres, grots, or oryx, or trogs, or other things as well, gargants. How they all react to Kragnos' awakening and how they all feel about it. Most of the time, most destruction just likes destroying things, and so get along quite well. But there are some that want other things from their lives. Some want to have a place to call their own. Some want to be the boss. Some want to be noticed. Some want to be great champions. Some want to be great sorcerers. Some want to show their power. And so it's really interesting to see how all these different destruction factions in the book start reacting to Kragnos' awakening and how they feel about having to follow. I mean, because he is the biggest, that means he's the strongest, that means he's in charge. And so how that sort of reacts to a lot of different sort of destruction factions is really, really cool. On to our main characters, and while there are a quite quite wide cast of characters in the story, we definitely have two main characters that we follow, and that is Alistair Seraphim Lysander, more commonly referred to as Lysander throughout the entire story, and we'll refer to her in anything going forward as just Lysander, and Cassius Braun, which we'll refer to as Braun, as he's most commonly referred to in the novel. This is a really interesting sort of couple of characters. First of all, Alistair, or Lysander, she is a Celestian. She actually has like star metal weapons. Her soldiers are proud Azerite sort of soldiers. They seem to be from another realm that have come to Gur to try and help settle it. She's been in Excelsis for quite some time. She's a mother, although she is the sort of warrior of the family, which is really cool to see. She's out there fighting, trying to stake her claim, and trying to make a name for herself as a fantastic general on the realm. Now, she is joined by General Braun, who is a native of Gur, though he does have a sort of Azerite upbringing as well. He was taken into Excelsis and sort of given a better life than the sort of normal sort of people of his realm. So he's not 100% Gurish. He's that bridge between like Gur and Azerite, and sort of sits somewhere in the middle, but he definitely plays more into his Gurish features. And for this, he leads the Gurish people as part of this expedition that's gone out to try and take this Gluthold and build a new city within the realm of beasts. And so this is the big playoff here. We've got a general from the Azerites and a general from the Gurish people. And this is really where our story sort of sits, of like these two generals sort of bickering and not being on the same page, though they do have a mutual respect for each other, knowing that neither one is truly in charge of the other. They both will do their own thing and they both have their own things, but they have got that same end goal. And so what changes about these characters? This probably is the most spoiler part of the review, so if you don't want to sort of listen to this, I suggest skipping to the next slide. But 3, 2, 1, we're going to start talking about it now, so you've had your chance. Pretty much the understanding of one another definitely sort of changes throughout the story. As mentioned, they are two very different people at the start. We have Gurish and we have the Azerites. And as the book sort of progresses, they come to a head at certain points where it comes to, they become so different it's impossible to even coexist with each other, and then eventually they start to understand one another, and we actually get to the point where we finally get to see traits of one or the other sort of imprint themselves on the other one, and we start to see this melding of Azerite and Gurite mix and become this sort of one race of just Sigmarite, rather than these two realm-specific types of people. which I think is the most interesting part, showing how two different cultures can come together and create a singular culture underneath one banner. It's really, really interesting seeing how these cultures can eventually coexist and start to understand one another, and I think that's portrayed really well. They definitely have their conflicts throughout the entire story, but eventually they become that one culture. What does the book do well? And first of all, I think this does one singular thing extremely well. This book really plays up Kragnos' power. I don't think anything sort of I've read so far, even in Broken Realms, really didn't play up Kragnos' power quite so much as this particular novel did. It makes him feel like an absolutely incredible threat to everything in the mortal realms, just showing his absolutely terrifying power. And for me, that's the most important. We get some seeds of Kragnos doing some absolutely terrible things in battle, and just dispatching foes of incredible power with pretty much relative ease. It's a really good showing for him, and really does just give you the idea of how terrible it is that he is back in the mortal realms now. On top of that, it does, as mentioned previously, show that relationship between Azerite and Gurite, showing that the two, because they have that singular faith at their core of Sigma, whether that be as warrior king or warrior god, that they can coexist. And it shows that evolution of them finally coming to understand each other really, really well throughout the entirety of the story, which I think is absolutely great. And so, who would enjoy this book? First of all, Destruction fans. While this book doesn't have Destruction as the main character, Kragnos is taking a backseat for a little while. It definitely does show you how different Destruction factions sort of react to him. Gives you the idea of how much fear Destruction puts into the people of the mortal, of Sigmar's sort of coalition in the mortal realm of Gur, and it does give Destruction a great showing. This is a Destruction book, showing you the fear they can put. And what's more, I really hope we can get more books about Kragnos, because it does show that he does have a lot of character to build around on, that he's got this really interesting history that I really want to hear more about. So I think there's a lot of promise to have more books with Kragnos actually as the main character going on in the future. Of course, if you just enjoy reading about the Mortal Realms and learning about different things and seeing the culture and the environments of the Mortal Realms, this book is for you as well. Like, it does give a really good showing of Gur. And of course, lastly, it fills in some gaps around the Broken Realm saga, sort of giving that little bit of insight into the first sort of days of Kragnos' destruction and rampage across Gur. In summary, this is a great introduction for a major player in the Mortal Realms that is Kragnos. It does a great job at making Kragnos feel like a really credible threat to everyone and everything. And most importantly, as we get into the book, it really does establish Kragnos has motives and most importantly, has end goals. Something we don't really get from a lot of destruction throughout anything in Warhammer 40k. I can't think of another destruction character that's got such a purposeful end goal as Kragnos. He wants to reshape the realms and make something in his own image and bring upon a new time of dominance by destruction. I'm thinking, like, when I think of Kragnos now, I think of a destruction character that's really got his whole sort of endgame planned, very much like Gazgul Thraka from 40k. He's on that sort of level of, I've got a plan, I've got an endgame, I've got a goal. And that, for me, just makes me want to read more about Kragnos as a character. For me, this was a fantastic story. I would definitely recommend picking this up. I really enjoyed it. Well done to David Guymer and to Andrew James Spooner, who did the narration once again. But yeah, this was just super, super enjoyable. Really recommend it. And probably a solid 8 out of 10, I would say, for a story from Black Library. It's fast-paced. It doesn't really have any major lull points. Good, solid story. Well, that's the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And leave a comment down below and let us know what you enjoyed about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the video's description to our Discord server. And lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so either via Patreon or YouTube members, and both of those are linked again down in the video's description. As a special thanks to all our Patreon and YouTube members, I'd like to give a shout out to them all. So a special thank you to our Patreons, Christian Weir, James Soren, Greenskins Gaming, AJC, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Anton Nilsson, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Dynet226 and Derek. And a special shout out to our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Chris Wallace, Ronya, Vinny, Locklorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Revenar, Wolfric Nick, Broken Shelf, Ariana Edwards, and Sean Scott. Lastly, a special thanks, first of all, to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for our channel, and to Xmorphic, who does all the amazing Discord server background work for us. Thank you all for watching. Once again, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.